Manifest on Purpose. My name is Kimberly Williams. I am a mindset consultant specializing in manifestation. I help you align your mindset with the things that you desire in your life to help you manifest in your life. So what are you waiting for? Come on, let's go. Let's manifest on purpose. Hello, and happy Thursday. Welcome to the Manifest on Purpose Mindset Show. I am your host, Kimberly Williams. Today, we have a very special guest, and we're having a very special conversation. But first, let me get into my gratitude. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing this with your friends and family. And thank you for subscribing here and on the website at manifestonpurpose.net. The God in me loves the God in you. Today, we're going to be talking about spiritual hygiene. I have a guest here that can help me out. Elocin Ned'Rah, also known as the modern day sage. Today, she's going to talk about spiritual hygiene, how it aligns with mental health, how it can help you build a strong spiritual foundation. Please help me welcome Elocin. Welcome, Elocin. I'm so glad to have you here today. Can you just tell us a little bit about who Elocin Ned'Rah is and a little bit about your journey? What led you to the path that you are on today?
Absolutely. I am Elocin, Ned'Rah. Actually, Elocin is my name backwards. My birth name is Nicole Harden. My professional name is Elocin Ned'Rah, and that too has a meaning. As I started my journey, I started breaking down the name Elocin. So how Spirit revealed it to me, El in Hebrew is God. You have Sin, which is a form of Sin, which is ancient Sumerian for the moon or the moon god. So in essence, my name means God or goddess of the moon.
I'm getting chills.
Yes. Ned, even my last name backwards has a meaning. Ned in I believe it's Old English means wealthy guardian. And then you have Ra, which is the sun. Full essence, goddess or God, goddess of the moon, wealthy guardian or protector of the sun. I am very honored to be here at this time to help guide people. I am a spiritual guide, a spiritual advisor. I am also a spiritual healer as well. I work with roots. I do spiritual work. I do energy work. A Reiki master. It's a lot that I do in this realm. It's a lot that I do, but I tend to do a lot of spiritual guidance sessions and spiritual work for my clients.
That's so amazing. And like I said, I'm over here in chills, and I totally feel a connection from you talking about your journey, even from your name. The sun god Ra has always stood out to me. It to me feels like someone paving the way. That's what I'm hearing. Talk to us about spiritual hygiene. What is it and why is it important?
It's really important that people recognize their spirituality, and realize that spirit is first. We always pay attention to our physical hygiene, making sure that we look good, smell good, we brush our teeth. But it's also important to make sure that we're energetically cleansed as well. We tend to pick up energy from our environment, from the people that we interact with, from what we see, what we hear, what we intake. And it's important to cleanse your energy from that, especially if it's like a negative influence. As a people, we tend to put that on the back burner.
Why do you think that we don't talk about spiritual hygiene as much as we talk about the physical hygiene?
I feel like we don't talk about it enough because it's not taught to us, in certain religions, especially by us being indoctrinated by religion. It's not put out in the forefront for us to be spiritually connected. They try to take us from our connection, our spiritual connection. So I feel like that's not mentioned because in this world, they don't necessarily want us to connect to our spirituality, which is, once again, should be pushed in the forefront. Other things are put in the forefront for us to not recognize our true power. That's what I honestly feel like why it's not mentioned, because they don't want us to know who we are. They want us to be weighed down with these energies and to be discombobulated. But it's important. It's important that everyone should be aware of our spirituality and knowing that we are spirit first.
Is there one thing that you can do, or are there several things that you can do to make sure that you're first protecting yourself from these energies?
There's a lot of things that you can do. First and foremost, the most important thing is to cleanse, and when you cleanse, you want to be very intentional with your cleansing. Bathing and taking like sea salt or herbs. Some really good herbs for cleansing would be rue, which is a common herb that you can get at a herb store. Some of the herbs that we have in our cabinet, like basil, sea salt. There's a lot of things that would be prevention. But as far as protection, sea salt is a very good protective measure. You can take baths in sea salt as well. Not only does it cleanse, it also protects. Wearing crystals is a really good protection measure. Like your black crystals, a lot of people find crystals to be taboo, especially if they're not awakened. Let's just say awakened, they find it to be taboo, but crystals hold a certain energy that attunes to our energy, where we can take on that energy from the crystal and it does what it's supposed to do. So a lot of your black crystals, such as obsidian, tourmaline, are good for protection. So saying prayers are good for protection. Visualizations, like visualizing yourself in a bubble, protects you. But yeah, those are like some, simple things that you can do to protect yourself from negative influences.
Visualization is one of my favorites.
Oh, is it?
Visualization is, I think, the most simplest form of being able to protect yourself, or either to call things into you. What about people that don't believe in these negative energies and the power of it?
I honestly believe, the mind is powerful. So what you believe tends to take full account of how your day precedes you. Those are very lucky people to believe that there's nothing out here to harm them. That's one of those tricky things where, because I do believe in the power of the mind. Yeah, that's one of those things that, it's a catch-22. For people like that, the best thing for them would be experience. They have to experience it in order to really know that, certain malevolent energies are out here to harm them. And I can be honest and transparent. I was one of those people that had to be shown a lot of things in order to believe that they were true, especially on my spiritual journey. I absolutely didn't believe in demons or spirits or anything like that until I was able to see them with my physical eye. So spirit allowed me to experience that. That's one of those things that, is different for everybody. So I hope that makes sense.
Yes, it does. It took me back to, I was the same way, the exact same way. And it took me back to one time I was actually attacked. And
Mm,
it was my first time, and I didn't believe it. And I just thought about all of the things because I lived in the South, and the elders would tell you if this happens, you should say this or you should say that. But I was just thinking about that time and how powerful it was for me because it completely changed the way that I viewed things from that point on. Is there a memory or something that you can recall that really woke you up to knowing that this is real?
yeah. Let's go back to these experiences with these demons. When I was in my 20s, I'm in my late 30s now. My early 20s, I had a very bad episode of depression. I used to stay in my room a lot. But during this time, although I was Christian, I was starting to explore, outside of Christianity because I felt like there was something more to, religion and to spirituality. At this time, I started studying, metaphysics a little bit more. I was always a dreamer. Once I had the metaphysical understanding of what was going on, I used to go into sleep paralysis. Okay. And in the state of sleep paralysis, I was able to see everything around me. And it looked like, the normal setting, but I used to see like entities moving. One time, it was this little dark shadow figure that was patrolling on the side of my bed, like he was some type of guard. And I'm just looking at it, just looking at it. I wasn't afraid, but it noticed that I was looking at it. Once I kind of snapped out of that phase or that sleep paralysis, I just put it aside. But what really got me was at the time my daughter was 4 years old. She scared the mess out of me. She was like, "Mommy, why is there like shadow figures in here?" She saw them herself with her physical eyes. And so that kind of like was a wake up call for me, like that this was really real. It was that moment when my daughter confirmed what I saw in that state of sleep paralysis. Yep. And I believe at that time, those negative energies was a part of my depression. So I realized that now I don't necessarily see those type of things anymore because my vibration is a lot higher. I'm not necessarily in that realm of the shadow figure. So, it's different levels to this when it comes to negative energies. Depending on your vibration, you tend to attract more negative circumstances. So the more that you raise your vibrations, which I should have mentioned earlier, as far as like a protective measure to raise your vibrations, you tend to attract more things of a lighter nature. So yeah, that was a wake up call for me.
So in essence, you're saying that really it's all about this spiritual hygiene starts mentally.
Yes, it does. Yeah, exactly. It does. Yep. It is a mental thing. It is
And
very,
how scary for a little child.
yeah, yeah, she wasn't afraid though. She wasn't afraid. And I'm thankful that she wasn't afraid. She's gifted. All my children are gifted. Our gifts are very much so generational. So she was brave, and I was just, I was shocked that she saw it. I was shocked, but it kind of calmed me down out of that situation.
We're always so afraid for them, and they're the strong ones.
Exactly.
So you do a little bit of everything. What are you most passionate about?
I'm most passionate about doing that work, doing the spiritual work. That's where my heart really is, working with herbs, working with candles, just being able to help people's situations. That's where my heart lies, especially when people come to me in dire situations or, situations that they can't find themselves out of or stuck situations. I like to be able to offer my services to help them cleanse their energies. That's one of my most popular services is energy cleansings, which I tend to do in a ritualistic way. It helps. It helps a lot. I'm going to share with you one of the clients that I had. Her energy, she felt stuck. She felt like her situation was hopeless, and I suggested that she do a cleanse with me. So she agreed. She was like, I really hope that this works. Even where she was spiritually, it started manifesting in her physical life. She was constipated. She was constipated for some months. And I was like, hopefully, this cleanse will help you, even though she didn't necessarily have to take anything on her end, like I didn't have to send her anything. It was just the spiritual work that I did for her. I didn't guarantee it, but I said, this may help you move your energy because you being constipated is a sign of you being spiritually constipated. So let's cleanse your energy and see what happens. We started the cleanse. Once again, I do these cleanses remotely. I don't have to be around the client or anything like that. Once I'm connected to your energy, I'm able to work with your energy and do what I have to do. So maybe 3 days into the cleanse, she had a dream that she sat on the toilet and she released. She released, and it was like she said it was to the brim of it. And I was like, it's working. So after the ritual was complete, which was about 7 days later, maybe 2 weeks after the cleanse, she contacted me and said she had an actual bowel movement, but she felt so much lighter after the cleanse and things started to move for her. She started having more clarity. She had solutions to her problems. I love seeing that and hearing that, because feeling stuck is like one of the worst feelings ever. Like when you are feeling stuck, that's where depression can set in. And I know that road. That's why doing spiritual work and helping people get out of stuck situations is really important to me because I've been there before.
Listening to you talk about the lady that came to you that was stuck, you said it showed up in the form of constipation. She couldn't have a bowel movement. This brings up a question from me. All of the illnesses and disease that today or are here today that we see people having problems with, do you think there's a correlation or connection between the physical illnesses and the energy?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not a medical doctor. Based upon different energy centers within the body, which we call the chakras, if there's a chakra imbalance or not moving properly, then it is going to affect certain areas of your body. And once again, I was one of those people that, you have to show me. You can tell me this, I can learn this all day long, but once I experience it, I know for a fact that this is true. One day, just my personal experience, one day I started having pain in my lower back. Worst case scenarios started coming to my mind. Like, what is wrong with my body? Why is my body doing this? In that moment of desperation, I thought that it was cancer, and which I will tell you, yes, spirit will have me go through certain things that I'm getting ready to experience from a client. So in that particular case, I thought I was having symptoms of cancer, but it was actually a client that connected with me maybe like 2 days later after that running through my mind. And spirit would have me go through these symptoms to be able to feel what my clients go through.
Wow.
But going back to the whole lower back pain, I have a very close connection with spirit, and spirit constantly talks to me, tells me everything that's going on with my body, tells me what to do. But when I was having this lower back pain, spirit told me to start doing yoga practices to move the energy up my spine because spirit said this that this was stuck energy in my root chakra. And so I didn't believe it at first. I'm being honest. I didn't believe it at first. I'm like, okay, spirit, I'll do this later. But once I started doing the exercises that spirit told me to do, the energy, the pain started moving up my spine, all the way up into like the top of my head. I found out, that there are correlations to like body pains and diseases that relates to blocked chakras or some type of spiritual problem or spiritual root. Spirit had to reveal that to me firsthand. Another case scenario that I experienced with someone else, this particular person had cataracts. What spirit revealed to me at that time was this person wasn't willing to see the truth. Once they had cataract surgery, it also translated to a psychic surgery as well. With that person, like later on, started seeing the truth of the situations and started seeing things a lot deeper. So spirit has put me in the midst of different people and situations and their spiritual roots and how it physically manifests to know firsthand that, there is a correlation spiritually with physical ailment. But once again, I'm not a doctor. So
Yeah, we gotta put that out there, but that's powerful.
yeah.
That's so amazing to be able to. How do you do it? How do you cleanse yourself dealing with so many other energies? Because I know sometimes these energies, like you said, may even meet you before the session starts.
What works best for me is spiritual baths. I take a lot of baths. For whatever reason, water works best for me. Everyone has to find out what works best for them. Some people can cleanse with just sage, or incense, visualizations. Like visualizations are good to cleanse too. What I found works best for me is some sort of spiritual bath with sea salt or herbs, sea salt and herbs. There's a very old hoodoo tradition, it's a very old tradition that they used back in the day with, household chemicals such as ammonia, and that's a very strong, powerful bath that does work. So it's different methods that I use to cleanse my energy depending on how deeply I have to cleanse. Mainly it's through spiritual baths. Sage isn't, it works, but it's almost like a temporary fix for me.
Really?
Mhm.
I would have thought a lot of people say sage, a lot of people say sage, but
Mhm.
I would have thought that sage was one of the stronger ones. It's one that I can't use because it's too the odor and it's just too powerful for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm connected with the element of water and everyone, like I mentioned, everyone has to find out what works best for them. Sometimes sage do work, really good for people, but I don't know if it's because I come in contact with a lot of people and I need my energy to flow, and water is one of those elements that helps you to flow. So, and it's very highly intuitive as well. It's a psychic element, very emotional. It helps you to release emotionally. It helps you to connect to your intuitive side. Spirit shared that with me.
That makes a lot of sense too. It really does. So tell us about the Reiki.
Mhm.
When you're performing Reiki services, are you just clearing the chakras? How does that work?
Okay, so Reiki is a little bit different for me. I do Reiki a little bit differently. I do clear the chakras, but also I perform what is known as psychic surgery. If I see that there's some type of blockage in a chakra, some type of tear, something that's not supposed to be there, then I remove it or repair it or ask the angels and guides and Reiki masters to come in and support the client or the person that I'm working with that particular area. I'll give you an example. I love these examples. One of the clients that I had a Reiki session with was suffering with speaking up. And so, how I was able to see this, it came through as a visualization and it was done remotely, but it was like I was right there with her. She felt everything. When it came to her throat chakra, I seen it as a speaker, and the wires were, misplaced. Spirit had me reconnect those speakers to the speaker, or to the speaker in her throat, and help her to become more vocal. And so after that session, she started speaking up more. She started being very vocal. She started getting her energy back and, singing more. That's how spirit has me perform Reiki. It's a little bit different, but it works. It most definitely works.
That's awesome. I see why they come to the goddess of the moon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And
Thank
do
you.
they have to does your clients have to be in person, or can you do this over distances, or what works best for you?
Initially, I started off remotely or distance work. I worked from home doing my readings and doing spiritual work, but now I do have a place of practice where I do see clients face to face. Either or works well for me. I tend to feel more comfortable in a sacred space to where I'm not directly in contact with people's energies, because from a more distant space, I'm able to observe their energy a little bit differently. It does come strongly, but it's a different perspective that I see their energy from when there's a little bit more distance, because I have to take into account when I am with someone face to face, not only am I reading their energy, I'm reading their body language, I'm reading the emotions, I'm able to see the emotions that they go through. It's not that it's a little bit more difficult, it's just a different experience. So I have to take everything into consideration.
Does different types of energy tend to stay on for longer than others? Say, for instance, like if it's a depressive energy, would that stay on longer than an anxiety-based energy or something like that? I mean, are some energies worse than others?
For the most part, it's the same because I'm able to cleanse myself from it and disconnect from the energies. Normally, when I connect with just about all of my clients, the initial energy that I pick up on is anxiety, because of them not knowing what's going to be said, and it being a new experience. It's not that it necessarily stays, because I'm able to disconnect from that energy, but that's probably one of the stronger energies that do come up: anxiety and confusion.
Oh, so that's what you see the most of.
Hmm. Exactly.
Wow. So how do you deal with that confusion? Would you deal with that just like any other energy?
Yes. A lot of times when I connect with my clients, well, just about every time, I tap into their energy to see exactly where they are energetically, and to see, exactly what they're seeing from their point of view. And if I notice that there's confusion, I'll mention it, but then I'll go into different phases, like peeling back layers of what this confusion may mean and bringing clarity to them.
How can a person feel the difference between what their own energy is and what someone else's versus someone else's energy?
Well, one of the ways to distinguish the difference between their personal energy or someone else's is to ask yourself, where's this energy coming from? And being able to sit with yourself and allow that answer to come to you. Because sometimes it's very difficult to determine if you're picking up on someone else's energy. or if it's yours. But if you just take the time to speak to yourself and just ask yourself, where is this coming from? It will be very clear to you because your body speaks to you all the time. We just got to slow down a little bit and listen. So it's, just listening and asking.
I'm glad you said that because so many people say something is wrong if you talk to yourself. But just like you just answered, talking to yourself is something that's very important.
It is. It absolutely is because we should consider ourselves our best friend, our own best friend. We have cells in our body that are very much so intelligent. So they respond to what we tell, ourselves. Like if you're saying that you're brilliant, you're going to find yourself in situations where you recognize how brilliant you are. If you speak in negativity over yourself, it's like, the affirmations that you say to yourself, they stick.
That's so true. That is so true. It's important to say good things to yourself and not even joke, because some people will joke and say bad things about themselves. They can't do this and they can't say that. But it's still an affirmation, regardless of whether it's negative or if it's positive.
That's exactly right.
Do you have any books that helped you out on your journey throughout the way that you can recommend for anybody who may be interested in energy work and protecting their energy?
I do have a really good book, or, just the topic of a book, because I feel like, when it comes to different books, it's what you're drawn to. So, one topic that I would suggest that people look into is psychic protection and defense. You can find many great authors who write on the subject. There's one particular book that I have in mind. Let's see, I just forgot the author's name. So
That sounds like the name. I've read a book called Psychic Defense and something like that.
yeah,
Dion, I
yeah.
can't think of the last name, but the first name is Dion, Dione.
Oh yeah, it is. You're right. Dion Fortune.
Yes, that book is amazing. Go get that. That book is amazing. If you are listening to this conversation and you feel like you do need to step it up when it comes to your spiritual hygiene, you
Absolutely.
just heard the goddess of the moon tell you that this is a great book, and I'm confirming that.
It is
I mean,
Psychic Self-Defense, the classic instruction manual for protecting yourself against paranormal attack.
that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm glad that you read that and you can attest to that, confirm that. Yes,
Yes.
it is a good one. Another one that I would like to suggest, because this one is good as well, the Practical Psychic Self-Defense book. And it's a survival guide by Robert Bruce. That one is really good as well, because in this particular book, he mentions that water is highly protective. It keeps negative energies away. So, a lot of times I like to tell my clients to make sure that you stay hydrated, to make sure that you're drinking water, being by water. And like I mentioned, for me, I can attest to this because water works best for me to keep me cleansed and, negative free.
You just stepped on my toes with the water thing. I need to drink more
Oh,
water.
yeah. Make sure that you keep yourself hydrated.
So I'm going to ask you to close us out. What do we need to know, most importantly, about spiritual hygiene, and how can that lead to us having a strong spiritual foundation?
There you go. Having a spiritual practice is highly suggested, especially during this time where the world is changing. We're going through great transformation. There's a lot of, once again, a lot of influences being pushed out that aren't necessarily positive. And by you having like some sort of spiritual practice in place, whether that's, making sure that you cleanse on a daily basis, whether that's sage, Palo Santo, taking your spiritual bath, making sure that you get out in nature and connecting with nature to help you ground and stay here and present. That's important, and making sure that you protect yourself. during these times, however, whichever way you find works best for you, so you can stay balanced in your own personal energies and being able to function in this world and in your purpose.
That is amazing. You share so much
Thank you.
wisdom here today. So much wisdom. I do want to ask, I want you to touch on one thing. I heard you speak on this before, the spiritual practice in general. Everybody has a unique spiritual journey. Can you talk about that just really quickly?
I believe me, I'm thankful that you have me on your show to speak and just share the information that I have through experience. When it comes to that, everyone having their own unique experience, everyone's journey isn't the same. So what works for one person may not work for another person. You have to go through your own thing to find out what works best for you. Some people take, the path of Christianity. That's still, a form of spiritual protection, or, a path for spiritual enlightenment. So there's certain things that they would do to, stay protected, prayers, holy water, holy oil, they still working with metaphysical tools as well. Meditation through other paths, you just have to be able to find out what works for you and what feels best for you. Just as long as you have something in place that you can go to on a daily basis, or in those moments where you feel you need it to the most and it works. That's the main thing. If it feels good and it works, then go for it.
My main takeaway from today's conversation is spiritual hygiene is really a part of self-care.
It is. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It is self-care. It's most definitely self-care, because if you don't have that part of your foundation in place, it's easy to get rocked out of your foundation when certain situations come, certain trials come. It's easy to get caught up in that wave of whatever's coming towards you. So I most definitely agree with it being, self-care, because it is.
Wow, you just brought this conversation today.
Thank
Well, you heard it from Elocin. Spiritual hygiene is a part of self-care. You can reach out to Elocin at Instagram at The Modern Day Sage. You can also email Elocin at elocin.nedra, ELOCINNEDRAH, at themodernsdaysage.com. And you can find her on Facebook at Elocin Ned'Rah, the Modern Day Sage. Her phone number is 1-800-774-4554. And if I was moving too fast for you, don't worry. I'll put these links right in the description box below so that you can contact her for any of the services she's offered. Thank you for listening in. Until next time, manifest on purpose.